Welcome to the Sunday Studies Podcast, a weekly message of hope to fight back those feelings of dread, fear, or anxiety of the week to come. This is a place to pause and find momentary solace and encouragement before you dive into the days ahead. Here's to finding it and feeling it together. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Sunday Studies, the 51st edition. And if you're joining us for the first time, get ready to be encouraged. If you're joining us for the 51st time, hey, my wife, Cass, I love you. Or maybe somebody else who's tuned in every single time, but mostly just Cass. So thank you, Cass. I love you. All right, so I watched a movie last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, and I posted about it on last week's Sunday Study, and it's Cast Away. And so I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to give you a little context, but I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen it. And we're going to talk about it and talk about how it spoke to me, and hopefully how it'll speak to all of us, and hopefully encourage us along the way in this weird, strange journey of life in all its complexity. And, you know, the deal. You can go to the Substack and you can check out all the cool things there and invite your friends to come join in on the fun as well if you feel so inclined. So, I'll quit rambling and we'll get started with the 51st Sunday Studies. This one's called We Keep Breathing. And it goes a little something like this. I recently watched Cast Away, and the end monologue from Chuck Nolan, the film's main character, shook me to the core. Since watching it, one phrase from it has bounced around in my head without ceasing. I know what I have to do now. I've got to keep breathing, because tomorrow the sun will rise. Who knows what the tide could bring? If you're unfamiliar with the film, I will do my best not to spoil things for you, and for the sake of not leaking said spoilers, I will keep the synopsis brief. The film tells the story of a man who continues to hope beyond all reasoning, fight for his life, and does so all by his lonesome. Cast Away served as a great reminder to me of the necessity of suffering, twisted and cynical as that may seem. So often we believe that goodness and truth are only found on the positive sides of life, the places where milk and honey flow ceaselessly, where striving and struggle are non-existent, and where pain and hardship are curse words that need not be spoken. However, I believe that viewing the world from this perspective robs us of the truest forms of joy that can only be experienced through the paths of suffering and struggle. I haven't read much of his philosophy, but many of the people I admire speak very highly of the philosopher Søren Kierkegaard. On the subject of suffering and truth, Kierkegaard has this to say: truth is not something you can appropriate easily and quickly. You certainly cannot sleep or dream yourself to the truth. No, you must be tried, do battle, and suffer if you are to acquire the truth for yourself. It is a sheer illusion to think that in relation to the truth there is an abridgment, a shortcut that dispenses with the necessity for struggling for it. There was two thoughts that crossed my mind as I read that quote. Number one, that is an absolutely beautiful quote that I want to fully embody and practice in my own life. Number two, life is really freaking hard sometimes, and cute little philosophical quotes like this will never truly teach you how to endure the hardships of life as much as practical living will. I do not consider myself an expert of any sort, but I will offer up some feeble words of wisdom to you in regards to suffering, truth, and living. It's the same words that Chuck Nolan spoke at the end of Cast Away. I know what we all have to do now. We've got to keep breathing, because we know that tomorrow the sun will rise, and we hope that the tides of life will bring us eventual healing and restoration. If this seems too simple, it's because it is. But I believe that it is in these oversimplifications that we can make progress and see our way through the darkness one step at a time. No task worthwhile is one that is easily achieved, and that absolutely includes this labyrinth that we call living. But there are simple steps that we can take, tiny things that we can control, and pocket-sized practices that we can execute through this gigantic thing we call existing. Breathing is one of those, and I believe it's one of the most important. I know that inhaling oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide will not stop the immense injustices, agonizing pains, or relieve the weights of the world that seemingly lie upon our shoulders in the moments of hardship. But I do believe that this breathing in and out is a form of fighting. It is a stance we take to remind both ourselves and the aching of our agony that we do still have power within us to fight back with hope. It is a weapon we forge against the powers of pain, to strike the darkness with a simple act of resistance to radiate light, feeble as it may feel. I encourage you to hold on to hope, and to do so with every breath that you can. Life does not always get easier, nor is it always fair or just. But I believe the sentiments of Chuck Nolan to be true with all my heart. That we keep breathing, and we fight to see the sun rise again tomorrow, shipwrecked and solitary as we may feel at times. After all, who knows what the tide could bring? And the poem this week, we keep breathing, desperately holding to hope against every odd. That's Sunday Studies number 51. We keep breathing. Sometimes that's all you can do, but I think sometimes that's the most powerful thing that you can do, because it reminds you that you're still alive and you're still here and you're still going at it, even though life is hard. And those simple steps that we take forward day by day are what push us along. I heard somewhere this week that the complexities of life don't change, but the way that we find our ways through them are still available. And so I think that's a good reminder of these simple breaths that we take. Even if that's all we can do, that's a step toward the next step ahead, which is a step in the right direction. So I just want to encourage you that if your life is hard right now, just breathe. If that's all you can do, fight with every fiber of your being and give it all you've got, because at the end of the day, the tides changing are beyond your control, but eventually they will. So that's my spiel this week. Hope it encouraged you. Feel free to share this with someone. We're really close to 100 subscribers on Substack, and I know numbers don't mean anything, but 100's a really cool number to me, so to see ourselves in the triple digits would be great. My Alexa just went off in the middle of all that, so I think this is a great time to say that's going to do it for this week's Sunday Studies number 51. Hope all this gave you some studies to fight the scaries. Reach out if you need anything. I'm in your corner. Bye. See you soon.